Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. Um, so I'm gonna talk about my and then like an update, about my job, because some of you guys have, well, if you watch me regularly, you know that I got the new job in May, and I just want to give a update on that. But before, I want to say like what I've been this past week. I just got back from the lake and Lake Michigan, and I got back to. I don't know. I don't actually live in Detroit. I live in suburban Detroit, but I just say Detroit. I got back to Detroit, um, 2 or 3. I don't know. I think 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. I don't know. And so we started like as a family taking these vacations, meaning my brother's family, like with his wife and kids, my sister's family, her husband and their kids. And then when my mom was still alive, she came, and my aunts, and so our first. I really think that our first time doing it, this like new family tradition. I mean, obviously we went on vacations when I was a kid, but I mean, as adults, I feel like I really think that I don't know. I can't remember whether it was 2020 would have been the first year or 2021. You know what? I think it was probably 2020, but I think it was probably 2020, which would make this 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. This is the 6th year of it. Yeah, it sounds about right. I always like enjoy going on it. Like the thing is, like I this other I don't really like doing childcare, and I've got no energy. I never want to do anything. But I always feel like I get something out of it. Like, it's good to get out of the house, to be around my family for a while and stuff like that. This one though, this year's one, this was my favorite one by far. This was definitely the best one. And okay, there's 2 reasons, but the biggest reason this was the best one was because this is the least sick I've ever been for all of these things, or the least, I don't know if sick is really the right word, just feeling like crap that I've ever been. I mean, there's definitely been, I mean, in 2021 is probably the one where I was really doing bad. Like I actually had to go home one of the nights. I'd, drive 3 hours back home so I could do a TMS session and then come back, a day later, because I was tapering off the TMS, and they couldn't risk me like missing a taper session, because that's what screwed me up so badly in the first place. The other reason is just that, like, I've complained before about how much I hate childcare, which I do. I don't like it, but one, it's just kind of easier now and we'll talk about this. And then the other is that, as the kids are getting older and more autonomous, I don't really have to do that much. I can just like bring up these shitty YouTube videos that they like, and then say, okay, hit play, and then say, okay, go, and they're smart enough now to know how to like pick the next video when that video ends. So like, don't get me wrong, I do still like skateboard with them, or play miniature golf with them, or play catch with them and stuff. But it's not like, I only have to do that for like half an hour at a time, if that. And but I mean, yeah, so that's good. But also, like, getting back to like the least sick I've ever been. Like, what I mean by that is, normally, like, I pretty much every vacation I've had, other than this one, my sleep schedule has just been a mess. Just been like a complete mess. Staying up all night, sleeping all day, and then you try to work that around so like you can like see the people you're with, at least some of the time. And that's not this time. It was, I mean, it's still a bad sleep schedule. Basically fall asleep around 3:30, wake up at noon. That's not good. It's not where I want it to be. By my standards, it's like it's better than it's been in decades. So that's it. And then also, like, I'm just able to enjoy things more. Like the things that, like, because it used to be, right, like, I just basically hated childcare. And I still don't like it. per se, but like I can enjoy it a little bit, you know. And the so the better sleep schedule and like better being able to enjoy the stuff, and it's like that's all from the reading. Just like I've done experiments in the past, like once, I've talked about it before, sense restraint, where true sense restraint, what you've done is it's basically work, or if you're either working, exercising, or you're literally doing nothing, like just staring straight ahead. Still think there's something to that, but it's very difficult to maintain. Like, it's very, very difficult to stick with. So I don't even remember why I started reading fiction. What it is, something like I went to the library by chance one day, and just because I don't know, it was open. I don't really I have no idea why I went. And I just started, I was browsing around and then just started reading, because I've always really liked libraries. We'll get to the work stuff. And I don't know, I was just browsing around, hanging out, and I started to read a book. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just get a library card and check some stuff out? And then so I slowly got more into it over time. And but I wasn't like going for anything. It just really had this like strong antidepressant effect, and I really am doing a lot better. Like I remember I complained about chronic boredom. That's a lot better. The motivation is better. It's still low. The energy is better. Still low. The sleep is better. Still sucks. The all that bad. So it's not cured. It's not cured. I think you can even tell how tired I am, although that's probably somewhat from the drive. Oh yeah, one other thing, you can see that I'm wearing this blue shirt, right? Because but I just want to give you an example, right? Like so before I left, they're actually still there because they're doing the checkout tomorrow. I wanted to get out like ahead of all that. My sister and my sister-in-law had this great idea of like doing these like family, like professional photos on, like one of the more isolated beaches. And I thought it was like a really stupid idea. And I've always like, since I was a little kid, I've always hated taking family photos. And but I was like, whatever. I mean, this is stupid, but if it makes them happy, okay, whatever. I don't really have a choice. So we went there. We were on the beach, and now, granted, I brought the book that I'm currently reading with me. So like when it wasn't my turn to take a picture, and while we were waiting for the pictures to start, I was able to just sit down and read. But even the actual, because normally, like I said, I've never enjoyed taking pictures, but overall, the event I kind of enjoyed. Getting up there, with my family, and because a few different pictures were like, okay, now you come Baldface 8020. Oh no, you're not in this picture, or you're in this one. But like actually taking the pictures from the I didn't feel impatient. I didn't feel at all like, when is this going to be over? I've had like, no, I enjoyed myself taking them. I'm not really into pictures, but overall I found the event pleasant. And I don't think that would have happened before. I don't think that would have happened 2 weeks ago. Before I got into all this reading stuff, which has really, calmed me down. And especially, one thing I'm noticing now is the more I read, the more I'm able to read. Like, I mean, I'm reading, like, by this, like, that's another thing. At vacation, I forgot to actually go and, like, read outside, which is something I never do around here. But, I mean, I'm probably, like, reading, like, 3 or 4 hours a day, at this point. I'm not trying to. I just, it just kind of naturally is built up. Maybe it's not quite that much, but it's a way more than I was. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. I mean, we'll have to see if it keeps up, if it builds on. I don't know. But anyway, so the job stuff, right? And you're probably, if you're still watching, or if you clicked on the video in the first place, you're probably thinking like, why is this guy even talking about this shit? Like, I mean, we've heard a million of the job updates. Like, why is he doing another one? Well, You know, I to me, I think it's worth following up at this point because this where I am now is a part where that I always saw as a like a landmark for this new job. So we're gonna just do the rehash again. I know you guys have heard it before. I quit my job at the beginning of March. That I had had that job for about 3.5 years, a little bit less. I was unhappy with it. I didn't want to do it anyway because it's a lot of customer service, which I just hate doing. But I finally felt like I needed to leave due to my boss, who, again, great guy, great boss, but he was having these screaming rampages, and I simply didn't feel safe around it. Like, again, like I've said it before, mentally I felt safe. I trusted him. I didn't think he was a dangerous or violent guy, but emotionally, his moods were creating anxiety in me, and I just felt like I couldn't continue. And I did this knowing that any other job was probably going to be worse, and I probably wouldn't be able to hold it. So I took this. It took me a while to find. I looked for a while. It was difficult. It was more difficult than I thought to find a new job. And I just like wanted like a normal job, but there's a lot of issues with me. Like anything that involves like because I really need. It has to be part time because I can't work full time, and it's got to be a fixed schedule. I can't have something that's saying like, oh, okay, on Tuesday you're working from 4 to 10, and then Wednesday you're working 2 to 8, and it's like different schedules every week. Can't do it. Okay? Even no. Can't do it. I consider that's like de facto full time. In my opinion. Because that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm working more than 40 hours a week when I do that shit. Like even when I was a kid and I had like a summer jobs like that were like 15 to 20 hours a week, like I couldn't stand the like moving schedules and stuff. The problem is if you're not working full time, that's usually how part-time jobs go, you know. They're different, they're crazy hours and stuff. Another thing is I'm late a lot. That had historically been the case. Well, that takes out like every retail job because you can't be late. And I call out, not a ton, but I do call out. You can't call out at retail jobs. So I can't work retail and I have to work part-time. So what else am I supposed to do? So I ended up right back in fucking insurance, just like where I left. But I said like going into this one, well, I can't do customer service. I just can't do it. So after looking for a while, I did find this commission only insurance job, which I was really lucky to get. I pretty much immediately regretted taking it. Like I'm seeing it before I even started. Because it was just like, it's a new job, it's going to cause anxiety, and it was just like I don't know, I just didn't want to work at all. I didn't want to do anything. And I just felt like a lot of anxiety about it. And but I went in with the idea of I went in with the idea that like, okay, well, let's just get through the training, which I knew was going to take 2 to 3 weeks, and then we can see how we feel. Because I knew that like, so at least like, the first day and at least I got over like the initial new job anxiety. Like I said, this started in early May. I did miss the first day of work because I screwed up the, I thought the first day, it got mixed up with when my starting date was. So got off on a wrong foot. But after that, very quickly it started to feel good to get back into some kind of routine. Like, getting up every day, showering, putting on clean clothes, going in and doing something, even if it's not much, just to break up the routine. Remember, I was dealing with a lot of chronic boredom. But, training, it's commission only. So it's like I wasn't even in position to try to earn money until like my second or third week there. I think my third week there. And the sales came really slow. And, I just felt like it wasn't going to work out. Because, when they finally started me on the selling side, they had me cold calling these old leads that I got completely shut down with. And I was like, well, I couldn't sell anything at the last job. This is mostly the same stuff that I had access to at the last job. In terms of like because now I'm at an independent agency, a brokerage. This was like this, like these carriers, I'm not going to say their names, but you'd recognize a lot of them. I had access to most of these at my previous job, and I couldn't sell anything. So, the, but, yes, I thought this just isn't, it's just not going to work out. But I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. The thing is, these guys really, like, they put in a lot of effort to, make this position for me and to, like, bring me up to speed, teach me how to do all this stuff. And, like, there's just a lot of work on their end to, like, get the training materials ready, set me up with the computer, um, show me how to use the systems and stuff like that. I was like, it doesn't matter, like, how bad this is. I have got to finish this summer. I said, so I just assumed, like, okay, yeah, this job isn't going to work out. I'm never going to be able to sell anything, right? And sell anything worth noting. They're probably just going to want to fire me anyway. But if they don't, after the end of the summer, I can say, look, I've been coming in every day. I've been making calls. I've been trying to work things the way you guys want to, and I still can't sell. It makes sense for both of us. It doesn't make sense for both of us, for either of us, to keep this going. We just have to go our separate ways, no hard feelings. So I had already made peace with that. So, like, well, that's how I'm going to do it. Because I've got it. My conscience wouldn't let me quit. I just had to finish the summer. And then, slowly but surely things started coming around. And, like, don't get me wrong, it's bad. Like, I do not sell a lot. I'm making substantially less than what I was making before. And I was making, what was I making? I was making like $250 a week. So, like, I was making like $1,000 a month. And I'm doing way less than that now. But because, it's commission only, right? And I'm just not selling that much. Still doing like 5 hours a day. But it is coming. It is coming. Like, I've had some weeks where I made, at least one week, I think, where I made over $250. But also, I make residuals. So everybody who renews, everybody who I sign up and renews, I get a piece of that. And, so, like, even if I changed absolutely nothing, like, if I were to stay here for another year, I'm going to be making, like, more money just based on that. Now, like, so, I mean, it's a slow buildup. It may never even get to $1,000 a month. I mean, I think it will, but it may never get to there. But we are seeing movement. It's not like I'm the hardest working guy, either. But, it's just been, a matter of, like, taking feedback from my two bosses, trying to, like, learn how to, sell the way they want to. And, they understand that everybody's different and you're just going to have their own thing. So I try to, it's like a compromise, right? Like, some of it is just me. But, like, if what I'm doing isn't working, then I do owe it to them to at least try to do it their way. It doesn't always, like, I maybe can't do it exactly the way that they would like, but I can at least make an effort to do it more the way they would, And when I say the way they do it, I just mean, like, the way you talk to people on the phones with interviews and stuff. Yeah, I don't know if I really want to go into too many examples in this video, because there's something else, because I think maybe I'll talk about it. There is something, like, that I've learned from all this that I want to talk about. So maybe I'll make another video about that. And we can talk about stuff that, like, the way my supervisors like to sell stuff. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, so I guess I haven't talked too much, like, about the job itself, right? So my previous insurance job, the one that I quit in March, that one was the place before it was an insurance agency. It was like a bakery. It was a bakery, and not like a bakery. It was a bakery, and so it was a very, like, open concept. You had like I don't know. Imagine if there was a bakery that they cleared everything out of, put a carpet in, and then desk and computers. It was like that. It was very open concept. It didn't necessarily have so much of an office feel per se. And so it was me, 2 other guys, and then a woman who functioned as a secretary, customer service type. She did a little bit of sales. Um, so, look at it, like I've said before, my boss was a great guy. I had a good relationship with him. I had a good relationship with the other 2 people there too. It was a good place to work. It just was. I was hired to do sales only, no customer service. But over time, things just worked out that way, and eventually it became impossible to sell things. No, we've talked about all this. This one though, I so this is, but it was close to me. If I didn't already say that, it was like a 15-minute drive. If it was less than 15-minute drive usually. It could be more, and sometimes, but it was very close. It was less than 15 minutes. This place is about half an hour away. Sometimes it can be a little bit more. Usually it's a little bit less. So you're basically over twice the commute. So the commute is a lot worse. I mean, it's still an okay commute, but it's not as good as the other one. But you go into it, and it's more of an office-y feel. Like, one thing my previous job had is my boss and his second in command, the other guy who was there, and really the secretary lady too, on the days that those 2 weren't there, they just always had to have the radio playing. Always sometimes they would play sports radio, which, was, I could tolerate, but usually they were just playing music. And it could be like 80s and 90s music, which even the music that I liked, I was just sick of hearing it all the time. It was like every day over and over, but a lot of times they would play country, which I hate. And like, I knew that I didn't like it, but I guess I got so used to it that I forgot how much I hated it, So one thing that I really like about this new one is I come in and there's just quiet. There's the people who are talking on the phone, or they're talking to each other, but there's no fucking background noise. None of that background noise shit. And it's like, that I really like. The other thing, it's more of an office-y feel, because it's in the place I was at was a converted bakery, right? And next to it or near it are all other like food type stores, like delis or seafood or something like that. And it's those, I don't know if I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. They're the kind of things where like the ground floor is some business, usually a food, and then above it are like some apartments. Okay. And we would always have people coming in saying, like, with packages, saying like, "Hey, I have a package for this person." It's like, "Yep, upstairs, not here." This place, right? Again, it's in one of those like office complexes, like the type usually, like you might notice if you've ever got like the kind of places where you like doctors' offices or dentist offices are, stuff like that. I'm not saying, I don't think there's any doctors or dentists. There might be a doctor. I don't know. I'm just giving you an example. Like, those like complex buildings that have a lot of those things in it, but it's like a lot of different offices. Like, so there's that like office feel once you get into, then you go into the place, and I got my own like little siloed section, not like a full cubicle, but kind of like a cubicle. My boss actually has a full cubicle, and then I've got like this partial cubicle, and then the other girl who works there has like a partial cubicle too. So when I started, it was like I was the new guy, right? And then there's my boss, and who runs the agency but doesn't actually own it. The guy who does own it comes in like once or twice a week. He's only there for like, like an hour or two usually. He's intense, but he's a nice guy, and he's always been fair with me. I mean, like, when he's there, you've got to like be like a little bit more on guard on your game. Like, you can't just be like blatantly, like what I do, like just blatantly reading a book instead of making calls. But it's like, he's not like a Nazi or anything. He's a nice guy. He's just like, he's an entrepreneur. He's like an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur. So, there's like certain entrepreneurial personalities, like, yeah, they may be nice guys, but they're not really the kind of people you'd want to hang out with. They're like, but yeah, like I said, he's not there that often anyway. So it's, but when I started, it was me, the new guy, and then there's two girls who work there. Like one, a woman who already had three kids, I think, but she was only like 36. I think she was 36 or 37. I don't know. It can be tough to tell with some people. Then a woman who's about 30, and then my boss who is, I think, 2 years younger than me. Like my boss, he's pretty quiet. It's so it's always tense when you're starting a new job. I don't know if I'd consider myself shy. I guess I can be kind of reserved before you get to know me. But like, I wasn't really interacting socially with the two girls that much when I was first there. I mean, it was polite. You can say hello and stuff. But I kind of felt like I'm this new guy on their space, and they're kind of like, not necessarily that they dislike me, but just that I was kind of like crimping their style, and they just didn't really know what to make of me. And I felt the same way about them. Coming in every day and dealing with them, I grew to really like them. And I'm going to say, as I had a good experience those 3.5 years at that other job. But I just enjoy working with these people more. I'm not saying that I like them more. I'm just saying that I've enjoyed working with them more. I don't know why. I mean, it may have more to do with me than anything else. Maybe I'm in a better place. Maybe I don't know. I think everything about it is a better fit for me. Anyway, but the thing is, like, so there's the two girls, right? One is a salesperson. The other is, her job is only customer service, doesn't do any selling at all. And she just left like 3 weeks ago, I think. 3 weeks ago, I can't remember. 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I don't know. Which sucks because, I really liked working with her, and I miss her, but also because now we have no customer service person. And she left because she couldn't do it anymore. She just couldn't stand doing customer service. And, customer service is tough. It really brings you down. It really grinds you down. Now, it doesn't affect everybody that way. Some people, but you got to have like the right personality for it. And when I say the right personality for it, I mean like the right personality to not be affected by it. Like the other sales girl that's there, because we all have to do at least some customer service. But when she's doing customer service, she's great. She's unflappable. So she could take like a total just customer service job, and she'd be fine because it wouldn't wear her down. But me, it's really draining. It's not that I can't do customer service. I'm good at it. But that's why I said the personality thing. Like some people it doesn't bother, and some people it really drains, and it really drains me. So I really can't do it. I can do it at short bursts, but then I can't do it. No. Anyway, so both of my coworkers. So now I've only got two coworkers. Because she had left, and I mean I said to her, I'm really gonna miss you, and I do miss her, and I meant it, and I've got a really good relationship with my other two coworkers, though. Like I just said, this whole week I haven't been in the office. I'd been on vacation, so I'll be going back for a short week. It's good that the week back is going to be short. What holiday is it again on Monday? Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day, right? I don't know. I don't know, whatever that holiday that ends the summer is. And, I mean, I've had so many times in my life where I thought things were going okay, and then, like there's some surprise that fucks everything up. So I always try to be like wary of that, and, or like conscious of that. So like for all I know, I come in on Tuesday and something got fucked up and I'm in a lot of trouble and I get fired. Like that could have, I'm not saying it's going to go that way, but I've had days like that at other jobs, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be a bummer to lose this job now, like where I feel like I'm making progress, and I feel like it is a really good fit. The money isn't there yet, but like I said, it's getting there. And if I've really been thinking about, because I've got a base in Spanish. If I could just finish learning Spanish and then get licensees from these other states. Which I don't even have to take any more tests. All I have to do is fill out an application and pay for it. And because right now I'm only licensed in Michigan. I could, yeah, and then, like I said, just continuing to make dials, like, the sales are coming. It just takes a while to build stuff up. But, I feel like this really could work. So my idea was, like I said, I just want to make it through the summer, and then I can recalibrate. Well, okay, well, I made it through the summer. It's over. We're going back to it, and I knew then that when I got to this point, the idea was going to be we'll make it through the end of the year and then recalibrate, which is, still how I feel. I mean, I'm going to have to be selling more than this, and, like every time I have a bad week, I'm wondering, like, is this it? Have I plateaued here? Is this as good as it's going to get? Am I, going to have to quit, or am I going to get fired? Because, you got to produce, right? It's like your commission only, for both of our sakes, me and my employer's sake, I've got to produce. And, so yeah, there is pressure in that front, but, yeah. So the way it is with me, like when I work, like, I do bring in a book with me, and, it's not like I'm reading all day, but like I'll work, I'll make calls, I'll take calls, but there are times where, like, I'm just washed, and, I'll take some time to just read. My boss doesn't care. And, because, it calms me down, and then it gets me, ready to get back in the game. But, you know, I mean, I could definitely work harder than I do. I think that if I was maybe seeing a little bit more returns, like more sales, I'd be more aggressive in the call, like doing more calls. But, like the calls that are important, I make immediately. It's like more like these like old leads that usually never amount to anything when there's no calls coming in, and I've made all the important calls. That I'm just like, dude, I don't feel like doing this. I just want to read, because I'm not gonna make any money from it anyway, right? So, and I usually don't. But, yeah, so it's progress. And another thing is that, so I do get some inbound leads, but there's also outbound stuff that I do calls. And the thing is, those outbounds are key because A, that's where there's room to grow, but B, every outbound call that I make that I get a sale from, that's a sale that they wouldn't have if it weren't for me, Whereas like the inbound stuff is all stuff that like one of the other two agents could have taken it. Or you could bring somebody off the street and they could, as long as they had a license, and they could take it. But the outbound stuff, well, you're actually going out and bringing money into the business. And that's what sales is. So the thing is, even if you're not making a lot, if you're just making some of those, it's much harder to fire you because you're bringing in money, So, and I'm commission only, so it's not like they're paying me a salary or anything. So I think that, but that's what I always say, like why I like commission only. It takes pressure off both of us, and it really has. Like, I don't think this job would have worked out as well as it has so far if it weren't for the commission only thing. But, yeah, do I have any other job updates? No, I know this video was a very scattered video. I apologize, but I wanted to make this update. So that's all for now. See you in the next.